Food is one of the most essential requirements for life. Food production in the world has kept pace with the growth in population. In fact, there is more food available per person today than in the 1960s. However, millions of people die of starvation every year. This is where the issue of food security comes in. The purpose of food security is to ensure that everyone always have enough to eat. Food security depends on a number of factors. The first factor is the availability of food. The availability of food depends on food production in a country, imports, and food stocks from previous years. No amount of food production and stocks can provide food security unless it reaches the people. This accessibility to food is provided by marketing and transport networks and the public distribution system. Even if the food is readily accessible, it does not provide food security till the people have enough money to buy it. The capacity to buy food depends on the financial state of a person and the prices of food. Thus, food security exists when there is enough food available for all, the available food is accessible to all, and everybody can afford to buy sufficient food. The definition of food security has changed over time. In 1975, the United Nations defined food security as availability at all times of adequate supply of basic foodstuffs. Nobel laureate Amartya Sen from India applied the factors of accessibility and affordability to food security. Accordingly, after the World Food Summit in 1995, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations revised the definition of food security that you see here. People living in poverty suffer from lack of food security most of the time, as they cannot afford food. However, in situations of natural disasters like flood, drought, and earthquake, the problem of food security assumes larger proportions and affects a larger number of people. Natural calamities like flood and drought destroy crops and existing food stocks. This triggers a chain reaction. Destruction and a decrease in the production of food cause a decrease in the availability of food. A decrease in the availability of food causes food prices to rise. The rise in food prices decreases the affordability, and more people are unable to buy food. A natural calamity affecting a large area for a long duration of time leads to starvation and conditions of famine. A famine results in a large number of deaths due to starvation and epidemics that spread due to the forced use of contaminated food and water, and the loss of body resistance due to hunger. The worst famine in Indian history was the Bengal famine that hit the Bengal province of British India in 1943. Around 3 million people, mostly agricultural workers, fishermen, transport workers, and casual laborers, died in the Bengal famine. A shortage of rice is often cited as the reason for the Bengal famine. However, the graph here shows that though the production fell sharply in 1941 and 1943, it was not low enough to cause such widespread famine conditions. According to Dr. Amartya Sen, the real reasons for the shortage of rice were the rising demand for British soldiers fighting in the Second World War, and large-scale hoarding of rice due to rumors of shortage. A rapid escalation in price and drastic cuts in incomes of people already living in poverty made rice unaffordable to millions who starved to death. In India, deaths due to starvation are often reported from Kalahandi and Kashipur in Orissa, Baran in Rajasthan, Palamu in Jharkhand, and many other remote districts. This makes food security an important concern for us. In comparison with all other regions of the world, India has the largest number of undernourished people. This underlines the problem of food insecurity in India. A large part of our population faces food insecurity. However, some groups of people are more vulnerable to food insecurity than others. These include landless farmers and farm laborers with seasonal employment, traditional artisans like potters and weavers, casual laborers and migrant workers, people employed in low-income jobs, poor people belonging to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and people without any means or possession for subsistence, including beggars. Did you know, according to the census of India, there are over 6 lakh beggars in India, out of which 3 lakh are in Mumbai alone. Pregnant women and their unborn children, nursing mothers, and children below the age of 5 form an important group that is vulnerable to food insecurity. A National Health and Family Survey in 1999 placed the number of such women and children in India close to 11 crore. The economically backward states of India, the tribal and remote areas, and areas prone to natural disasters like droughts and floods have a higher percentage of people with food insecurity. The states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Maharashtra have the largest concentration of people facing food insecurity in India. Hunger is both a cause and effect of poverty and indicates food insecurity. Hunger is of 2 types: chronic hunger and seasonal hunger. Chronic hunger is a result of consistently low quantity and quality of diet. People with low incomes and the inability to buy enough food suffer from chronic hunger. Seasonal hunger is a result of low quantity and quality of diet for a short period of time, say a few months in a year. Agricultural workers and casual laborers who find employment only for a few months in a year suffer from seasonal hunger. Here is a graph that shows the change in the percentage of rural households with different types of hunger from 1983 to 2000. Here is a graph showing the change in the percentage of urban households with different types of hunger from 1983 to 2000. You can see that both chronic and seasonal hunger has decreased in rural and urban India in the last few decades. To provide food security, it is essential to remove the present hunger of people and reduce the chances of hunger in future. Since independence, India has made rapid strides in attaining self-sufficiency in food and to provide food security to its large population. The introduction of modern farming methods brought about the Green Revolution in India, marked by a dramatic increase in the production of food grains. The success of the Green Revolution was not uniform across India. In the states of Punjab and Haryana, wheat production increased by more than 4 times from 1965 to 1995. The states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh saw a significant rise in rice production. However, the states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and Orissa, and the northeastern states did not show any significant rise in food grain production. This is a cause for concern in addressing the problem of food insecurity in India. Since the Green Revolution, food grain production in India has increased manifold. While the period from 1980 to 1990 saw the highest rise in food grain production in a decade, India's total food grain production crossed the 200 million ton mark in 2000. The large variety of crops grown in India also ensures self-sufficiency in food even in adverse conditions. The food security system in India consists of the creation of buffer stocks of food grains and their distribution through the public distribution system. Every year, after the harvest of food grains like wheat and rice, the government buys food grains from farmers through the Food Corporation of India. The food grains so procured are stored in warehouses of the FCI. This stock of food grains is called the buffer stock. The buffer stock is used to prevent a shortage of food in adverse conditions like crop failure and natural calamities. The government declares a minimum support price for the purchase of food grains in every sowing season to encourage farmers to increase the production of food grains. Food grains from the buffer stock of the Food Corporation of India are supplied to the poor sections of society all over India through the public distribution system. The public distribution system has a network of about 4.6 lakh ration shops or fair price shops all over India. Food grains, sugar, and kerosene are sold at fair price shops at the issue price fixed by the government. The issue price is lower than the market price of these commodities. You can buy a fixed amount of sugar and food grains every month from a fair price shop if you have a ration card. 3 kinds of ration cards are issued in India. The Antyodaya cards for the poorest of the poor, the BPL cards for people living below the poverty line, and the APL cards for all other people. Looking back in history, the rationing of food in India began after the Bengal famine in 1943. The need for food rationing was further underlined by the severe shortage of food in India in the 1950s and the 1960s before the Green Revolution. The high poverty ratio reported by the National Sample Survey Organization in 1970 prompted the government to launch 3 important programs related to food security. These programs included strengthening of the existing public distribution system and the introduction of the Integrated Child Development Services and the Food for Work program. The government has also launched several poverty alleviation programs that enhance food security by increasing the poor people's income and their affordability of food. The public distribution system is one of the most important programs run by the government to ensure food security in India. Let us look at the evolution of the public distribution system over the years. Till 1992, the public distribution system applied universally to the entire population of India. all the people holding ration cards could buy food from ration shops at uniform subsidized rates. In 1992, a revamped public distribution system was introduced in 1700 backward blocks in the country. In 1997, the targeted public distribution system was introduced to extend the benefits to the poor in all areas of the country. In the year 2000, two special schemes called the Antyodaya Anna Yojana and the Annapurna scheme were introduced through the public distribution system. While the Antyodaya Anna Yojana was aimed at the poorest of the poor, the Annapurna scheme was aimed at needy senior citizens. Like most government programs, the public distribution system also has both positive and negative factors associated with it. Let us look at the positives first. Over the years, the public distribution system has helped in keeping food prices stable by providing food to people at subsidized rates. The public distribution system has also prevented large-scale hunger and famine by supplying food from surplus regions to the deficit ones. Over the last decade, efforts have been made to extend the benefits of the public distribution system to the poorest of the poor. The procurement of food grains at attractive minimum support prices has provided assured income to farmers and boosted food grain production. Now let us look at some of the negative factors associated with the public distribution system. The procurement of food grains by the Food Corporation of India to create a buffer stock is an essential requirement for the public distribution system. However, the actual stocks maintained by the FCI are way above the prescribed buffer stock norms as shown by this graph. Maintaining such large stocks is expensive and wasteful due to the rotting and deterioration of food grains in storage houses. It is ironical that hunger still prevails in some areas while food grains are rotting in overflowing granaries. The procurement of wheat and rice at enhanced minimum support prices has discouraged farmers from growing other food grains like jawar and bajra. Increasing cultivation of water-intensive crops like rice is leading to overexploitation of the limited water resources in many areas. There are also frequent complaints against PDS dealers, like diversion of good quality grains to the open market, selling poor quality grains, and keeping irregular shop timings. Another problem is of unsold stocks left with PDS dealers. Many different types of ration cards with different price ranges are responsible for the unsold stocks. As mentioned earlier, till 1997, all families with ration cards could buy a fixed quota of food grains and sugar from ration shops at uniform subsidized rates. However, now people who live above the poverty line and have ration cards of that category get very little subsidy on prices and thus have little incentive to buy from ration shops. Another concern about PDS is its unequal effectiveness in different states. While the average consumption of PDS grains is 3 to 4 kilograms per person per month in the states of Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Himachal Pradesh, the figure is less than 300 grams per person per month in the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Orissa. Thus, even after decades of the public distribution system being in place, poor people often have to depend on the open market for food. Amul not only encourages dairy farming, but also provides a variety of milk products to consumers all over the country. The Academy of Development Studies in Maharashtra is a society devoted to the welfare of tribals and rural communities. The Academy of Development Science has started a novel scheme for food security that involves setting up grain banks in tribal and rural areas. A grain bank functions like a normal bank. The members can make deposits of surplus grain after harvest and make withdrawals during lean periods. Did you know? The Academy of Development Science in Maharashtra started the Grain Bank program in 4 tribal areas in 1987. By 2004, the Academy had set up over 160 grain banks in villages in the Raigad and Thane districts of Maharashtra. Grain banks have promoted food security amongst small and marginal farmers and have reduced their dependence on money lenders. Government agencies are also looking at the success of this program as a viable alternative to the public distribution system. Grain bank members can also take loans in the form of grain and repay the loans with interest at the time of the next harvest. Cooperative societies in India are playing a significant role in ensuring food security. Although cooperative societies exist all over India, they are more active in the western and southern regions of the country. In Tamil Nadu, around 94% of all fair price shops run under the public distribution system are managed by cooperatives. If you visit New Delhi, you will find Mother Dairy booths in all parts of the city. Mother Dairy is a cooperative that sells milk and vegetables at fixed rates decided by the government of Delhi. Perhaps the best success story of cooperatives in India comes from Gujarat in the form of Anand Milk Union Limited or Amul. Did you know? The story of Amul began with its first modern dairy at Anand, where the brand name Amul got established in 1955. Today, Amul is managed by the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation Limited, or GCMMF, that has around 2.8 million milk producers as its members. Amul gave a tremendous boost to milk production, leading to the White Revolution in India.